Welcome to leg 10 of my Balkans road trip. In this video, we're going to be leaving Sarajevo and making our way towards Zagreb, a city that surprised me in a good way. Before I made my way to Zagreb, I spent a couple of nights in Banja Luka. It was really cold in Sarajevo, and it seemed as the days went on to get colder and colder. I was also barely sleeping, and road tripping in and of itself is already tiring. And remember in the last video, I said I stayed up until 3 a.m. watching weird music videos. So by the time I got to Banja Luka after driving for 3.5 hours on what was quite honestly a very boring drive, I was absolutely exhausted. I took the toll roads and the scenery was a lot of brown, dry hills and barren trees. The small towns I did pass through consisted mostly of cinder blocky houses, industrial-looking shops, and gas stations.
Okay, one thing I noticed about Bosnian drivers is they do not keep consistent speed whatsoever. It's like they'll be flying 1 minute and then like going at a snail's pace the next, or they'll be like tailgating you and then you look in your rearview mirror and they're suddenly like way behind you, and I don't know like why that is, but I've really noticed that in this country that they're like constantly fast, slow, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. I don't really know what the deal is, but I don't know why I like hate inconsistency.
Banja Luka is about 90% Serb population, and you'll definitely notice a difference as you head toward it. You'll see more signs written in the Cyrillic alphabet, you'll see more Orthodox churches and graveyards, and you'll even notice a difference in the way they speak. I got checked into my apartment and walked to the store to pick up some food, like some very au natural eggs, my favorite Slovenian soda, and this extremely artificial pudding. I love those chintzy pudding cups, like in Germany, and well, they sell them all over Europe, but like, you know, where it's the pudding with the whipped cream, and they just had strawberry at the store, and I've never seen strawberry. It looks like when you get the pink Nesquik, like the strawberry Nesquik. I don't even know if they make that anymore, but we're gonna try it. Looks very unnatural. Ooh, it's like weirdly tangy. I was not expecting it to be weird and tangy like that. It tastes like if you made a weird sour strawberry candy into pudding. It tastes very artificial. Definitely not good. Oh, I just figured out what it tastes like. It tastes like strawberry jello, not like a nice pudding. It's like almost like if you took strawberry jello and mixed it with Cool Whip. Even though I was exhausted and running on 4.5 hours of sleep, I was weirdly wired at the same time and didn't go to bed until after 2 a.m. I picked Banja Luka because it was a nice stopping point and it looked pretty in all the pictures. But after driving around and walking around, I didn't really feel like I needed to go out and explore. I was too tired and it was too cold for me to want to emerge from my apartment. My host said I must try Banja Luka cevapi, which is a little different than the cevapi you'd find in Sarajevo or Mostar. But I was totally content sleeping in on my second day there, doing ballet, doing laundry, and binge watching my favorite cheesy Turkish series I got hooked on when I was staying in Montenegro. I'm not saying there isn't good stuff to see in Banja Luka or that it's a bad place. I just didn't feel like exploring it. Remember, just because you're traveling doesn't mean you have to go out sightseeing and exploring every day. Honor how you're feeling in the moment and not what you think you should be doing. I don't believe traveling is about seeing or doing certain things so you can scratch them off your list. I think it's about enjoying yourself and experiencing life in a different place. And part of life is rest. One funny thing I noticed about a lot of my Airbnb hosts in the Balkans, they love to send lovey emojis. It cracks me up, but everyone I met was so nice, it's not surprising they'd send loving emojis. So after a couple of days of doing basically nothing, I moved on to Zagreb. It was another boring drive with a rather slow border crossing. There's that church. It's really pretty. There you can see how it's like 3 tiers. This is by far the slowest border crossing I've done. It's very slow. When I entered Croatia, I saw a lot of bombed out buildings, but other than those small towns when I first entered the country, it was a fairly uneventful drive on toll roads. You can see bullet holes in these homes too. That one has bullet holes in it. Okay, you can see these have bullet holes. The roof was blown off, and there's a bunch more here too. Just gonna turn around up here. Oh, I think that was like a foundation maybe of a building up there. There you can see it from the back side. On this side of the street, there's a bunch more buildings. There you get a really good view of it now. I did find a terrific, large, clean, new, practically empty Spar that I grabbed some goodies at before I got into town. And yes, that is corn pizza that was at Spar. Corn pizza. Zagreb is the capital and the largest city in Croatia. I was a little nervous about driving in because I was staying right in the city center, but I think since it was a Sunday afternoon, the traffic really wasn't too bad. I loved my place because I could walk everywhere and I could keep my car parked for the days I was there. Despite it being freezing cold when I went out exploring the next day, I really enjoyed discovering the city. It's beautiful and reminded me of a less opulent version of Vienna. Croatia is well known for its coastline, and obviously for good reason, so I didn't think there would be tons to see in this northern landlocked town, but it was great. My only complaint about the city would be this. Why? Why do these buildings get placed awkwardly amongst all of this beautiful historic architecture? I've seen this in a lot of places where very modern and abstract art installments, buildings, bridges, you name it, get plopped in the middle of a town with completely different architecture and history. Sorry, there's nothing profound or meaningful about it. It's just ugly and out of place. My hands were so cold at this point I could no longer hold my camera up, so I returned to my apartment. Once I de-thawed, I walked to this little convenience store, which was kind of like a 7-Eleven but nicer, and I made a cup of to-go coffee on their self-service machine. When I went to pay, the guy working the cash register said, "Large Americano?" When I said yes, he told me the total and said, "Thank you." And as I was leaving, he cheerfully said, "Have a great rest of your day." I got the feeling that he wanted to practice his English skills with me. It's funny because when I think of Zagreb, the first thing I think of is how content I felt making my hot cup of to-go coffee and how friendly the cashier was. Leaving town the next day was much more stressful since it was a work day. Lots of cars, trams, people crossing the street, an ambulance honking at me for no reason. I noticed in Croatia there are a lot of ambulances that just drive around. And I only noticed it in Croatia. When I left Zagreb, I headed straight for Tito's political school, which is where we're gonna leave off. So make sure you hit subscribe and notify because this was one of the craziest abandoned places I've ever been to, and you won't want to miss it. See you next time.